Hello, I'm Patrick Ngako, and this is my series Superhuman U, helping you reach your true potential through the power of imagination, music, and more. My goal is to inspire people to visualize and achieve their career and life goals using the power of imagination framework. A question that I've been asked quite a bit is, how do you see music contributing to the success of the power of imagination? When you talk about music, I'm biased. Not everybody loves music the way I do. I think music saved my life. I discovered music when I was about 8-9 years old. My father bought actually he didn't buy it. He had a keyboard that was broken and left him in the living room. And, there were a couple of keys that did not work very well. And so I learned how to play the piano by myself and just kind of playing around, and I would go to church and just sit by where the musicians were, just kind of observing their fingers and asking a lot of questions. And that's how I learned how to play the piano. And what music helped me do is to escape into a different world, right? It's a universe in and of itself. And when you think about the power of imagination, we all have access to that power. We're all able to imagine something, to dream, right? And the only difference between myself and the next person is really our ability to access that imagination. And what prevents us from accessing our imagination are all the mental obstacles we have in our head, right? And these obstacles are really just people's opinions and lies we tell ourselves. And so what music does is, at least temporarily, right? I don't think it's not something that you can do throughout your life, because eventually you need to be able to create that mental space. But temporarily, music clears out a lot of the noise that's in your head, by replacing with a more pleasant noise, for lack of better terms. And so a good example is my freshman year of college. I had a pretty big nervous breakdown. My mother had, was in a hospital, and I spent a lot of time visiting her, just trying to be very supportive. I was 18 years old, and I did not grow up with my mother, so that was really my first time going through her mental illness cycle, which is event, stress, nervous breakdown, the police comes, the ambulance comes in, she gets handcuffs, put in the ambulance, go to the psychiatric ward, and go through triage in the psychiatric ward, and gets admitted to the hospital. And you kind of go through the process. It's always an event in and of itself, because you think, okay, she's just having a breakdown and she can bounce out of it, right? And at 18, I was hopeful that, okay, maybe there's some hope there, and maybe if I give her the attention and love that we were never able to exchange, because I did not grow up with her, that would help her get over that hump. It wasn't the case, because she did have a condition and cyclical in that way. But just the process of going through it, of going through a mental hospital, and it wasn't really my mother that was, that was a disturbing fact, because I had seen her in a state of, distress before. It's really seeing teenagers just like myself in a psychiatric ward. And that was very perturbing, because the one question that kept on ringing in my head is, why them, not me? It could easily be me here, right? And it looks as though their life has completely taken a different turn, and they would forever be walking with them and have to overcome that. And to me, that was really traumatic and perturbing, right? And so I felt a lot of fear, a lot of anger, sadness, a lot of restless energy during that time, and having a hard time focusing at school too, because it was just something that kind of stuck with me. And so music played a very critical role at that point. And because what it did, it allowed me to immerse myself into a different universe, right? At that time I fell in love with jazz, because jazz did not have words, and any kind of word that would go through my head would just kind of get me started at that point. And so I would dive into jazz records. I, even took a jazz class in school just to kind of understand the history of it, and fell in love with Miles Davis. And I do have his music tattoo on my forearm. And so I really used that as an opportunity to clear my head. And I would, play Miles Davis's records over and over. My roommate hated it because he hated the sound of the trumpet, particularly the muted one, which has really high frequencies. But it helped clear my imagination. I would immerse myself into that world, into a jazz club, just kind of imagining myself being there. You would have Miles Davis, John Coltrane, Bill Evans on the piano, Cannonball Hartley on the alto saxophone, and just kind of believing that I'm there, just living, and that would take me out of where I was. And once I had imagined this particular space where all these geniuses were, then my imagination just took over, and I would go there and just kind of hop from that world to another world, which is a much better version of my world, where I did get good grades, where I did have success as an accountant, where I had a great career. I was able to get out of poverty and provide for my family. And once I was there, I just stayed there, right? And so music really helped me kind of continue to nurture my imagination. And so one thing that I recommend people doing is to try to listen to music in that way, right? And pick your favorite artist, your favorite song, and if possible, a live version of that song, right? And immerse yourself into that song. Close your eyes and imagine the atmosphere, the crowd, the energy. Focus on the feelings and how great it makes you feel. And once you're in that world, once you're in that beautiful dream, you're going to find yourself slowly moving into your world, your own imagination, a better version of maybe the world that you're living in. And once you have that particular image, it's fantastic, because you have something to shoot for, you have something to aim for, and can use all the tools and the tricks and the tips from the Power of Imagination framework to be able to achieve that image in your head. Thank you so much for joining my series, Superhuman U. I hope you enjoy yourself, and I certainly did enjoy it, and I hope to see you next time. Thank you.